Hey guys, time for the silly book. I'm going to start this off by saying, Grandma, I'm sorry for the grandma voice that I'm going to use in makeup during this story because it doesn't sound very flattering. Um, Everybody has grumpy days now and then, and sometimes you just need your space. And this is a book about a grandma who needs so much space and that nobody is willing to give it to her. So, this is a very funny book I haven't read in a long time called Leave Me Alone by Vera Brosgol. Vera Brosgol did the illustrations and the writing. And she's a pretty amazing illustrator. She's done lots of work on TV shows and movies, kind of helping design things. But now she's doing books. And Vera Brosgol actually lives in Portland, Oregon, as far as I know she still does. So maybe we can run across her one of these days and ask her how she made up this great idea. But I bet it has something to do with the fact that she was born and raised in Russia. And I think that might have influenced, until she was, I think, 5 or 6, I believe, that might have influenced some of this art. But here we go. Leave Me Alone by the wonderful Vera Brosgol. Once, is that okay? Okay. Once upon a time, there was an old woman. She lived in a small village, in a small house. Now it's doing that thing where there's no illustrations on most of the page and just a little bit in the corner. Kind of evokes a feeling, as opposed to this. Whoa, that is so crowded. The whole page is filled up, and more people are coming. So she lived in a small village in a small house with a very big family. And you can see her expression has definitely changed from page to page. There's so much happening in that house. Winter is coming. She had meant, that meant she had some very important knitting to do. But it wasn't getting done. Oh my gosh. She has knitting, and there is obviously something stopping her from knitting. And it doesn't look like anyone's trying to be mean, but with that many kids and so little, oh, maybe they are being mean. Oh gee. Her grandchildren were very curious about her knitting. Were you supposed to hit it with the ball? Hit the ball with the stick? Could you eat it? Could you make your brother eat it? Why did the ball get smaller and smaller as you chased it? Oh my gosh, now I'm wondering, when I was a kid, was I a stinker like that? Was I that rude to my grandma? The old woman was at the end of her rope, which is another way of saying she was all out of patience. So she made her bed as neatly as she could. She swept the floorboards until they more or less shone. She's not able to do anything very well because of all these kids. She drank tea from her samovar. No rest for poor grandma. That's a lovely old samovar, which in my understanding is like a super, super fancy teapot. She packed up her things in a big sack, and as she left, she shouted back, "Leave me alone!" Oh, Grandma, be careful out there. The old woman walked through the deep, dark forest. She made a fire so that she could see what she was doing, and she sat down and began to knit. I can see you've been peeking on this page. Oh my goodness, Grandma. The bear family was very curious about the light from her fire and about what she might taste like. Look at those baby bears. They very much remind me of someone else we just had in the book playing with her yarn. "Leave me alone!" the woman shouted. Don't mess with Abuela. But they didn't listen because bears don't speak English. So she picked up her sack and left. Ugh. Grandma doesn't take no silliness. The old woman climbed up the mountainside. It was cold, and so she found a small sheltered place. She sat down and began to knit. Oh no, look who's peeping in there. Oh no, the mountain goats were excited to have a visitor, especially one who brought snacks. Leave me alone, the old woman shouted. She must have so much yarn. But the goats were too busy fighting over the red ones, which they all agreed were the best. So she picked up her sack and left. She just wants to knit. The old woman climbed higher and higher up the mountain. What? She reached the top and she climbed onto the moon. Think that would happen if we started going towards Mount Rainier? We could climb right up to the moon. Look at that. She found a rock that was shaped like a chair. So she sat down and began to knit. Oh, she's cutting those side eyes. You know something's going to happen. You can see somebody peeping over there. Oh no. The little green moon mid had never seen a woman before, old or otherwise. They examined her with handheld scanners that went beep, 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 beep. Look in the back. I think one of the chivos, one of the goats followed her. Leave me alone, the old woman shouted. She's getting so mad. But the little green moonmen couldn't hear her because they didn't have any ears. So she picked up her sack and left through a wormhole. This old woman has mad powers. The void on the other side of the wormhole was very dark and very, very quiet. She was absolutely, completely, and utterly alone. It was perfect. So next time I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just need to go into a wormhole. Soon she had no more yarn and 30 little sweaters. Wow, that old lady's amazing. And she was alone. And in a wormhole. So she put the 30 sweaters into her big sack. She swept the void until it was nice and matte black. She had a cup of tea from her samovar. Then she picked up her sack and left through another wormhole. I love how while she's in the wormhole, the illustrations are all just completely black with the white silhouettes and outlines of things. Oh, back to the real world. When she came back out the other side, everything was right where she had left it. And she didn't say a word. Looks like all 30 of those probably grandchildren are so happy to see her and get their sweaters. And she looks pretty happy now too. I guess she just needed that break. Well, again, that was a pretty silly book by Vera Brosgol. I'm going to have to remember that sometimes people just need space. Sometimes people need breaks. Even grandmas. So let's be sure to be kind and sweet to each other and give all of our friends and family space when they need it. Bye, guys.